Have you ever noticed something unusual? The people who achieve the most almost never talk about motivation. They don't flood social media with quotes. They don't wait for the right time. They don't depend on perfect routines, ideal mornings, or carefully curated playlists. They simply do the work every day quietly, consistently, without theatrics, without excuses, without bargaining with themselves, while most people are still half asleep, scrolling endlessly and waiting. To feel ready, these individuals have already completed the most important task of their day. While others consume motivational content, hoping to ignite some inner fire, these people have already trained, studied, built, and executed. And here's what's most interesting. When you ask them how they do it, they don't talk about emotions. They don't mention inspiration. Instead, they refer to something far older and far more powerful. Over 1,000 years ago, in Japan's Heian period, there was a concept that separated ordinary men from legends. Though many who embodied it were fierce warriors, wasn't intelligence, though scholars deeply respected it. It was something deeper, what the Japanese called Yamato Damashii. It means the inner force that compels action even when every instinct tells you to stop. This principle forged warriors who refused to break. It shaped leaders who altered history itself. But centuries later, during World War II, it was corrupted, twisted into a tool of militarism and blind nationalism. Its name was used to justify cruelty and fanatic obedience. That distortion was a betrayal, because the original meaning of Yamato Damashii had nothing to do with conquest, empire, or superiority over others. At its core, it was about a brutally simple idea: responsibility over emotion, identity over impulse, being over wishing today. I want to show you what this concept truly means and how it can turn you from someone who understands everything but accomplishes nothing into someone who takes action naturally, almost effortlessly. But to understand it, you need to hear the story of a man who possessed immense knowledge and absolutely no courage to act on it. The scholar who couldn't move the year is 950, Japan. A young nobleman named Tadayoshi is 24 years old and already more educated than most men twice his age, born into privilege. He has unlimited access to books others will never touch: Chinese military treatises, Buddhist philosophy, strategic doctrines, classical writings on war and leadership, while other nobles spend their days drinking sake and composing poetry. Tadayoshi studies relentlessly: strategy, psychology, formations, tactics. He dreams of becoming a great warrior, perhaps even a general who will shape Japan's future. His intellect is extraordinary, his memory flawless. He can quote ancient texts word for word and argue military theory with seasoned scholars, but there is one fatal flaw slowly hollowing him out from the inside. He never acts. Every morning begins with resolve. Today I will train. Today I will push myself. Today I stop pretending and become who I claim to be, and every morning ends the same way. A new scroll catches his eye. A theory he hasn't fully mastered. A detail he thinks he must understand before beginning. What if I train incorrectly? What if I miss something important? I should study just a little more. So he reads, he analyzes, prepares. By the time he feels ready, the sun has already set. Tomorrow, he tells himself. Tomorrow for sure. The servants whisper. The nobles laugh, the warrior of books. They say he could defeat an army with words, but not with a blade. And there, right, he has enough knowledge to command soldiers. Yet he's never felt exhaustion in his muscles. Never confronted real discomfort. Never discovered where theory ends and reality begins. One evening, his father finally speaks the truth Tadayoshi has been avoiding. You have a commander's mind, says, but the soul of a clerk. Knowledge without action is useless. You're not living, you're merely existing. That night, Tadayoshi doesn't sleep. And the next morning, for the first time in years, doesn't open a book. He leaves the house. The man in the forest, he wanders into the forest near his estate, unsure of what he's searching for. Clarity, permission to quit, maybe nothing at all. Then he hears it, A steady, rhythmic sound, wood cutting air. Movement repeated again and again with mechanical precision. He follows the noise to a clearing and stops. A man in his 50s stands alone, scarred and weathered, practicing the same sword movement endlessly. No emotion, no hesitation. Just repetition. Hundreds of times, this Tadayoshi realizes, is discipline. Not excitement, not passion. It's just presence. When the man finishes, Tadayoshi bows and asks to be taught. The man looks him over. Silk clothing, soft hands, the posture of someone who has never worked hard. No, he says, and turns away. Desperation spills out of Tadayoshi. He lists his knowledge, his studies, his intelligence. The man listens, unimpressed. You know many things, he says, so go and use them. Something inside Tadayoshi breaks. He begs. Finally, the man says, you will quit. I won't. Tadayoshi answers instantly. Everyone quits. I won't. A pause. Tomorrow, before sunrise, be here. Duty is not a feeling. What follows is suffering. Unmoving stances, aching legs, burning muscles, silence instead of encouragement. When Tadayoshi collapses, the man now revealed as Kaio is not impressed. You quit in 15 minutes, he says. Do you think war is comfortable? Tadayoshi refuses to leave. Kaio asks him a question that changes everything. Why will you return tomorrow? Tadayoshi has no answer. Kaio explains. Motivation is emotion. Emotion fades. Duty does not. Duty is not a feeling, it is a command. This is Yamato Damashii, he says. Not doing something because you want to, but because it is who you are. Identity is the key. Day after day, Tadayoshi returns. Cold rivers, endless repetition. Pain that strips excuses away. Eventually, something shifts. He stops asking whether he should train. He simply trains, because warriors do, when he breaks discipline. The consequences are harsher. When he keeps it, life becomes simpler, Gio teaches him the final truth. Discipline is not about forcing behavior. It is about becoming someone for whom the behavior is inevitable. Not, I want to be strong. But I am someone who trains, not I should act. But this is what I do. The meaning of Yamato Damashii airs later. Tadayoshi becomes a leader not because he is the strongest or smartest, but because he is unshakable. His soldiers follow him because he does not negotiate with duty. And when asked the secret, he gives the same answer Kaio once gave him. Knowledge shows the path. Spirit makes you walk it. Yamato Damashii is not Japanese. It is human. It is the force that turns intention into reality, plans into action, and potential into results. You don't need more motivation. You need an identity so solid that action becomes unavoidable.